excited today. I'm bringing to you Dr. Emeka Obidi, and he is a board certified pediatrician and so much more. He's extremely vivacious, his energy is contagious, and I would love him to share more about himself.
You are too kind, Julian. It is a pleasure to get to spend some time with you, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. Well, yes, I'm a board certified pediatrician. I am a husband and a father of three. My wife and I have three kids, a 19-year-old. Well, she's going to be 19 very soon, in another month and a half. A 15-year-old in a couple of weeks, and a 8-year-old. So two girls. The older ones are girls, and then an 8-year-old boy. Yeah, and we live out in Western Maryland. And yeah, been out here for, gosh, it's been like 17 plus years. Actually, it's probably going on more like 18 years now out here in Western Maryland. I have worked at the same practice the whole time, and I've owned it for the last 8 years. So
Oh my
the
gosh.
previous owner retired, and the opportunity came up to purchase a practice and run it, and we went for it. It's a family practice, so I have four other family providers I employ, and I love. They're just amazing people to work with, and so it's a family practice. We see both adults and kids. I see all the kids, and they see both adults and kids, and it's fun. Yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. So, and walk us back to like when you were a kid, did you know you wanted to be a pediatrician or where did that vision come?
I think my sort of how I came to medicine story is, the usual run of the mill, very bland, just wanted to help people and loved playing with frogs and doing biology and stuff like that. Nothing,
Yep.
nothing really exciting.
Hey, I
But
played with frogs. That's exciting. I played
hey,
with
there you
toads.
go.
Yeah, you want to know? Did you ever make like? I used to make little mazes and things with them. And I grew
Uh-huh.
up in, Nickelodeon era where I was like, "Oh, look at this toad maze. It needs to be on Nickelodeon as like part of their child creation."
Well, mine may have been a bit more gruesome, but I'm not gonna
Oh,
go there. Like anatomy and stuff like that. But
got it.
and I did fail to mention I'm from Nigeria, West Africa, so that's where I grew up, and that's where I did med school.
Awesome.
And I actually wanted to be an ophthalmologist. I
Oh,
just love
wow.
the eye. The eye's beautiful, just like beautiful artistry to the eye. And we had a family friend who was also an ophthalmologist. So I'd watched a few eye surgeries at her local practice and was all set to do that. But med school in Nigeria is sort of fashioned after the British system. So after med school, which is a 6-year program, you get to do 1 year of an internship year before you have a full license to practice.
Hmm.
And that's broken up into the four major fields, OBGYN, peds, internal medicine, and and surgery. And I fell in love with my pediatric rotation. I mean, it
Oh,
was like so out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it, but I just loved it. I was just so alive during the rotation, loved working with kids. And it wasn't always very, fun, right? Because this is, in a developing country, and sometimes, kids have been brought late to care and, hopeless situations or really dire situations. But I don't know, I just found something life giving about caring for kids and just how resilient they are, and being able to support the parents during the process. I just fell in love with it. So so I said, kids, it is.
that's incredible. And it really sticks out whenever I hear you talking and your enthusiasm and your genuine connection and that passion that you have.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I just love it so much. And it's really funny because you said you went to residency then in New York,
Yes.
and I know you shared with me. I'd love to hear again how you got to Maryland because I think it's funny.
Yes, so after residency, I did like 1 year in like a hospitalist program, and then just realized this wasn't for me. It wasn't a very good situation, just very bully of a boss. But so I was like, I need to look for regular practice to primary care to practice in, not the hospital work. And interviewed in a few places in New York and New Jersey. And then this opportunity out in Maryland came up, and it's actually funny because I was walking, I mean, this is like back in the day, right? Where ads were like in journals and
Mhm.
paper journals, right?
Yep.
Not online. And I've been walking with this journal in my backpack for like months, and I hadn't really flipped through it. So I'd even done a few interviews, and then I don't know, for some reason, brought out this journal, was flipping through, and like, an ad out in Maryland. We have a friend in Maryland. He's like an hour and a half from this place. We should go interview there. So my wife and I came out here. We interviewed. It was a nice, practice. We thought it was a cool place, and 17 years later, we see that friend maybe once every 4 years. Like just life happened, right? And so, but that was how we ended up here, and we haven't left since.
And since you've got the three kids, we know you've got some experience with parenthood. And
Mm.
can you explain how did you develop the ideas and what you're so invested in right now?
I think that was just more of noticing. I mean, I love all things pediatrics. I love taking care of kids at all ages and even young adults. So I usually see up to like 22, 23 years old. So I love the full gamut, um, but more especially, but sort of noticed in more recent years that that interaction with newborns and new moms and gave me the most pleasure and the most joy and the most satisfaction. And so just in more recent years have leaned into it and really on the fact that I do excellently well, with that interaction with new moms and kids. It's just, I think I've had to get to a place just in my own personal growth journey where I'm learning to own things in just a very honest, like pure way. And it's not pride, it's not, and it's not um, making little of it either. It's just what it is. I just do very well in that situation. I mean, in general, with people in general, but I think
Mhm.
it's nice to see moms coming anxious, worried, concerned, or 1,001 questions, and to know that I have the skill to be able to help them relax a little bit more. That I am very approachable way they can ask any questions. And actually, when I take care of a few moms who are in the medical field, either nurses or doctors or something, and the first thing I tell them is, hey, listen, you're a mom right now. No expectation in you. Ask me any question. I don't care. Don't feel I'm a doctor. I should know this. No, you're a mom right now because I know how that feels.
Mhm.
This is me, second year in residency. I should tell you the story. Came home after one of my long rotations, and our daughter, so our only kid at the time, I don't know, she was probably 5 months old or so, had a fever. And so I did my full vitals and her heart rate was like 170. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna die. Her heart rate is 170. Let's go to the ER. So I rush in there. I tell my fellow residents, oh my God, her heart is 170. Tachycardic, she's this is terrible. They're like, she has a fever. And I was like, well, actually, that's true. That is
Yeah.
physiology. She
Mhm.
has a fever. Her heart is going to, race. This
Mhm.
is not the end of the world. But, I think it's allowed me to realize that, when your kids are involved, sometimes reason goes out the window. And so to create an environment where parents feel safe to be able to sort of interact with the clinician and really get all that they need from that interaction with no judgment and no errors.
So I'll
Yeah.
tell you a funny story that happened today. I have a
Oh,
dog.
good, please.
Yeah, so I watch. I don't have kids, and I watch you all the time because it's inviting. And it's like, well, these like the recommendations you give, like how to sleep. I'm like, I need to know how to sleep.
Yes.
It makes me like choke. Okay, so I have a dog. I have been known to be a helicopter mom. I am very mostly, I protect people. If you're my friend, you know that. If you're not my friend, I still protect you because I like to protect people. But
Hmm.
my dog has been traumatized at the groomer because
Oh.
he's got his nails
Hmm.
wigs, so they
Yeah.
were cut too short. So he will not let he's anxious when he goes there now, where he used to
Yeah.
love it. And the
Mm.
change in his demeanor makes my heart hurt. And
Oh.
I started to cry today.
Oh.
This was like, oh, he's so sad. He doesn't want to be here. And like,
Oh.
I think part of why I don't have children maybe yet, or maybe well, I'm like, because this is how I respond. And I would respond like this to a fish, to a hamster, to a plant that I
Yeah.
so I can really
Yes.
appreciate needing that additional support and to have
Yeah.
such a calming presence and that reassurance. And for people that maybe haven't stopped your clips yet to know exactly what we're talking about, can you tell them what all that you're doing right now?
Well, yeah. So, like I said, I've just sort of leaned into that fact that that is, an area that I just love a lot. Along with, like I said, all pediatrics, and so started to think of a way that I could support moms and make more impact in that season. And one of the things I've just noticed over the years is that moms will come in with all these concerns and worries and things that really weren't that much of a big deal, but they had been carrying this for, a day or 2 days or a few weeks or a month, waiting to get to that appointment to, mention this. And like, it just breaks my heart to see all the joy that was stolen all this time over things that weren't that much of an issue. And if they only could know this information ahead of time, how many more precious moments will be sort of salvaged and not spend worrying, but just enjoying their kids. And so just more recently have started to put together an online course where I can, teach and learn and coach moms, with what to expect with their newborns, and how to care for them safely, and so that they can just be more confident, during that season and really enjoy their babies and newborns to the fullest. So that's what I'm doing. So putting out more content, along those lines in social media and helping support moms any way I can. Yeah.
Yeah, and since I watch you, can you share exactly where I'm watching you at? I feel like a stalker when I admit this, but I'm like, but it just applies. Like I just and it's just you're it just is so inviting. But and again,
Oh, well,
sorry,
thank
where
you.
can they find you at?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Obidi. So it's DROB as in boy, ID as in David, I. And on Facebook, it's at Dr. Emeka Obidi. So it's DREMEKAOBIDI. Yes.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to have it down below so that people can find you
Thank you.
there
That's
too.
kind of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your program, can you tell me more about it? What all does it entail?
So it's an online course. It's 4 weeks, and I get to just sort of go through um from what to expect after the baby comes out, because oftentimes moms aren't even exactly sure what's going on, right? The nurses are doing stuff with the baby, and like they're doing stuff with them, and so going through all of that. Um, Going through things that she'll advocate for, at least be aware of, whether that's delayed cord clamping, or which can be helpful to the baby, or skin to skin right away, or feeding right away, as quickly as it's safe. So all of those things, how to what to expect even with like the weight of the newborn, because
Mhm.
almost every newborn is going to lose weight the first few days, and moms immediately go to blaming themselves that they're not producing enough milk, and they're not feeding their babies well. Even when they're formula feeding, they're not doing it well, which I can't 100% relate, but mom guilt is real
Mhm.
because I see it all the time. But just to be able to educate them that that is actually part of just the process of the newborn, um, um, uh, getting used to this new environment. They actually come prepared for that. You're allowed to lose up to 10% of their weight, before we worry. So, things like that. Talked about how to maximize sleep during that season, because that's usually very tasking. Those babies are feeding every 1 to 3 hours. So things like that. And then, what to expect when they get home, with feeding, sleeping, partners being supportive and how they can do that, how they can care for themselves. That's a big part, actually. A big part, actually, is even just mindset.
Mm.
Just knowing that you're the best mom for this baby. And there isn't one right way to do most of the things you need to do for your baby.
Yeah.
And then most of the things you worry about, really, in the grand scheme of things, really don't matter. So going through all of that, there is an hour session with a doula, which is really cool, where they can get to like learn how, because doulas are trained to support moms physically and emotionally through that season before, during, and after pregnancy, so they can ask questions and how to, just make the birth process as I don't know, I wouldn't say enjoyable, but just as rich as possible. Let's go through it and go through it well. I guess maybe we'll put it that way. So that's pretty much what we cover and a few other things. So it's fun. I'm looking forward to being able to support moms more and more in that way.
Yeah, it's so important
Yeah.
because I often, hear, especially if there's the pregnancy blues or postpartum
Mhm.
depression, where
Yes.
people are really
Yes.
blaming themselves.
Yes, yes. I'm actually glad you mentioned that because that's a big part of it also. We certainly cover all that. And it's sad because um, half of moms who have postpartum blues or who actually have postpartum depression itself aren't even aware or not treated. And I have even cared for medical personnel, like, lady moms in the medical field who were completely blindsided by postpartum depression. Like, didn't expect it. Just weren't ready for the fact that it might take some time to bond with his baby. So there was a lot of guilt and a lot of just sadness and depression over the whole issue. And so yeah, just I think there's a lot you can do to help maybe mitigate or decrease the risk of that happening if mom's just aware ahead of time and also empowered to seek the help she needs early and not feel like she's a failure for feeling this way or a bad mom for feeling this way. And yeah, so it's certainly a lot of what I cover as well.
And when
Yeah.
you're not working, what do you like to do?
Oh boy, boring.
Boring. I don't know about that. Let's hear it.
Ah, well, I think I'm learning to spend more time with my family. I've actually it's been part of the journey in being more balanced the last few years, spending more time with my family and supporting my wife at home and making sure I take care of the list of things to do. I love to, well, I love to run. I'm going to do more of it this year. Yes, last year
Uh-oh, don't tell me that.
I ran half a marathon last year.
Oh my goodness.
In like 2 hours, 14 minutes. So it
Yes,
was, yes,
congratulations.
yes. It was my first time ever running any race.
That
So
is
it
so
took quite
exciting.
some training, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the lessons I learned, right? Yeah. So that I can do hard things. So it was fun. Need
Yeah,
to
and
get
for
back into a running routine again.
there are so many people that, I used to run marathons pretty
Oh,
regularly. It
really?
was my coping skill. And then,
Wow.
yeah, and then I had to take a step back because I got a little excessive about it. And now I'm getting back in. So all it takes is for me to hear half marathon or marathon, like, "Yes, we should sign up, we should run, we should do this." But for when you were deciding to sign up, what did
Mhm.
that look like? How did you start to train for it?
Yeah, so as part of just a goal setting process, one of the things I had learned, from one of my business mentors was to set a goal that stretches you some. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it should be out of your comfort zone also. So at the start of last year, I said, you know what, I'm going to run a 10K. And I was like, well, it's actually not too much of a stretch, How about I do a half marathon? But when I had set that goal, it just invigorated me. I was sort of just like, yes, there's actually this goal. I knew I had to train. I knew I had to sort of get resources. So it was fun. It was hard, many, many days, as I'm sure you know, as a marathoner.
Mhm.
Um, but it was a good, and I think as part of that process, I really leaned because early in the training process, the trainer had said I had done an audio program, had said that you really need to set some reasons and some goals for doing this race because when
Mhm.
training gets hard, you need to have those goals to get back to push through. And so one of my big goals was to prove to myself that I can do hard things,
Mhm.
and that really motivated me through a lot of the training and the race itself, and it was just so fulfilling at the end of the race to know that I actually trained and completed a half marathon, and it was not super crazy wonderful time, but it wasn't a horrible time either for
Yes.
a first time runner. And there are many times I felt like just stopping. I didn't even stop at the water stations. I just grabbed the water and continued
Yeah.
going.
Oh, yeah. It just is so funny. I love
So
every
yeah.
second of this, and people can apply it. I mean, I'm so engaged because I love to run, but of course, everyone
Uh,
can apply this message whether they want to run or whatever
yeah.
they want to do.
Yeah.
I love running. I think it's always one of my metaphors. And the
Mm.
funny thing is that with it teaching people now, I use my running. I ran in college, and I
Nice.
think that every start line that
Mm-hmm.
I got on, I wanted to quit because I
Yeah.
had performance anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get help for performance anxiety until med school, which is
Mm. Mm.
years. I did dental school for it's
Mm.
like years later. And so
Mm.
now if we can
Mm.
teach people younger, especially who want
Yes.
to quit, what is it?
Yeah.
What's making you want to quit, especially with our
Mm-hmm.
perfectionistic tendencies,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to let that go and to have fun, like just like you said with the half marathon, like I was just having fun.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, that's the truth. And I had to during that season really understand that yes, I because I had to say it's okay whatever time I run, I'm gonna do my best, but I'm racing with myself. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to beat anyone. I'm not trying to, and I wasn't too obsessed about what happens if it takes me 4 hours to quit this either, to finish either. It was just enjoy the season, and just enjoy the race. And it was an enjoyable race. There were obviously difficult times, during it, but it was nice to be able to focus, pull all the resources, all the training, remember all the tricks and tips, and yeah, I know it was. I know I'm gonna run a marathon someday, but I don't know when.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because it was quite a commitment to train for the half marathon. So
You're right. You're absolutely right. And the amount, so I've done marathons where I didn't train and marathons where I did. And I can
Mhm.
certainly say for your own injury prevention and
Yes, yes.
longevity of your training and your enjoyment of the race, please train. And if you
Hmm.
didn't train,
Yes,
and I
yes.
value, well, how you said you didn't put the expectations, because I went through a period of time, if people are former runners and then they're trying to pick it up as adults, like a lot of people
Hmm.
quit because they get injured because they're trying to push
Yes.
themselves and
For
be the
hmm.
runner that they were. And I'm like, just kind of be. And I think in our email exchange, it kind of seems like we're in alignment with like, here I am,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
just kind of throw out whatever societal expectations. I mean, in
Yeah.
order to create our value, like,
Yeah. That has been a journey for sure. Because I was so for a long time just worried about what people think, making sure everyone loves me. But yeah.
everyone loves you.
It's
People people do, and if they
I don't
don't,
know about that, but it's less of a motivator now. So and I think it's just more enjoyable because I can show up as my true self and worry less.
yeah. What do you think led you to that?
I think, oof, I don't know. I think just exposure to good teaching, good self development teaching, and I think over time, just leaned into um, not being afraid to speak up on my voice, realizing there's so much more that I was created to do, and that playing small doesn't get you there,
Mhm.
right? And that there's so much that we come prepared to do, and but it's difficult to get that done if you're bogged down with what people think, or being afraid that you may mess things up, or being afraid to make mistakes. I've learned to embrace failure, and it's not a reflection of me personally. And if anything, I can learn through it and be a better person and a better human, and just be yeah, show up better. Yeah, so yeah, it's just been a process.
Yeah, and I think we're all benefiting from you realizing your voice and sharing
Oh, thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
coaching has helped. I think that's
Mhm.
one thing I would say has made a humongous difference, in recent years is getting good coaching, and realizing that even that in and of itself, that you're not weak for seeking someone who has done what you want to do or who has, perspective on what you want to do and that they bring value and that there's nothing wrong with trying to tap into that resource and tap into that knowledge and skip some unnecessary mistakes or get some objective reflection back at what you're doing and how you're showing up. And yeah, so that's been really a blessing. Yeah. Yeah,
I
both professionally and personally.
I think that is incredible. Is people often we hear there's a lot of coaching and hear the skepticism, and I'm a huge advocate of coaching for the same reason you said. I'm like, because sometimes we don't realize that we're stuck in, I guess they say, our own stories
Yeah,
or things
yeah.
like that, and to
Mm,
have somebody to pull you out of it. And
yeah.
it's like the coach keeps you in the driver's seat. They
Mhm.
teach you how to believe in
Yes,
yourself.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm glad you said that because I think that's maybe one misunderstanding maybe some people might have of coaching, feeling like, someone is telling you what to do or that someone is, yeah, no, I think they really just actually a very good coach pulls out from you what's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's beautiful when it happens.
And you do coaching. Is that part of your program, or is it what is? I was trying to think about.
I think it might develop into that down the road.
Yeah. Can I just put that spark out there? Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Taking it one step at a time.
I'm pretty sure we'll be. Oh, people are already signing up for the coaching. Are you going to create? They're already signed up. They're already lined up. And then you'll have one for new puppy moms because I'm like, but I needed, but I needed, but I needed that.
I should
Oh,
tell you we're getting a Labradoodle next this weekend. Like it's the
oh my
first
god,
our first, pet, our first dog.
that is
Like we
fantastic.
finally came to my kids.
I have a cockapoo.
You should see that they said, are you sure you guys mean this? Are you sure you guys are well? You're actually okay getting the dog? Like, yes, I think it'll be fun.
This is going to be awesome. We'll have to invite you back on to meet the dog as well, and you can walk us through those steps. I
Oh
remember,
my gosh.
I can't relate to obviously giving birth to the child, but I
Mhm.
do remember that state of overwhelm, and I just have so much respect for parents in general
Uh-huh.
because when I got my dog, he was already 4.5 months, so like I missed the 8 week
Yeah,
interval, and then when
yeah,
I watch people with
yeah.
8 weeks, I'm like, this is hard, guys.
Yes.
Like, make sure you're probably, and it's meant like, so for moms and things like that, like when I had my puppy and I finally accepted help from a neighbor, just
Mhm.
that relief of like having a tribe to help me,
Yes,
like, and then the whole
yes,
community wanted to help raise my dog. I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah.
amazing.
Yes, yes. And and moms, are typically in the same place also. They're, sometimes afraid to reach out for help. But when they can, it's so freeing, right? And yeah, so I think part of what an expectant mom can do is start to build that network even before the baby comes, and tell those friends, I might need you. And when you ask me how I'm doing and I say okay, try and read between the lines and see if I'm really okay or not. And feel free to probe and feel free to come and say, I think you need some help. Let me help you.
There's an attending always said and normalized, if you need to put the baby down and go into another room for oxygen just for some
Mm,
time to have space,
mm,
like she just normalized, it's just don't feel guilty if you need
yeah.
that space for a second and then come back,
Yep,
especially
that's
so
exactly right.
I just really value those, that normalizing. And again, I feel like, well, what does she know, she only has a
Oh
puppy.
no, but there are lots of parallels there. I'm actually glad because I've been looking at a lot of YouTube videos trying to get ready for this pop. And I'm glad I didn't look at those videos before we decided because I'm like, oh my God, this is like having a kid again. I
Oh, yes.
have to make up every 2, 3 hours to go try to pee.
Yes.
So, but I think it'll be fun. We'll, I can do hard things. So
You can do hard things.
I would get through it. If I could train for a half marathon, I can raise a pup.
Yeah, and you can certainly raise a pup, and you can certainly make it fun, because I realized even with coaching, the stories I had, like, literally someone can offer you a different way to think about the
That
exact
is
thing
so
that you're
true.
thinking about.
That is so
And
true.
even Tony, is it Tony Robbins?
Robbins, uh-huh. Yep, yep, you got that right.
Oh, I hear his name all the time. Ah! But he and I think it's in I Am Not Your Guru. I may be wrong, obviously.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yes.
But
Yeah.
he said when you're feeling anxious, like if you just change the word to excitement, it can really change, especially if someone with performance anxiety.
Mm.
So I have adopted that, and I'm like, wow, I'm feeling
Yeah.
excited.
Yes, yes.
But
I think sometimes we are. It's actually interesting and profound, actually, that we're oftentimes not as aware of how much in control we can be of our emotions and our experience, and and how we interact with the things that happen to us day in day out, whether they were pleasant or not. It's so easy to be hijacked by emotions and your thinking. It's so easy to believe, like you said, the story you tell yourself, and to believe that that's truth. And just to forget that one of the beautiful gifts we've been given, by God, is just the freedom to choose. And you can choose if how you look at a situation. Yes, it may be difficult, and yes, there are times where there's something clinical going on, but oftentimes, it's really just reframing whatever that situation is. And even where there's still not some wonderful bright rainbow sunshine, story to it, but still you can go through it with just a better mindset, you know.
this
Yeah.
resonates very deeply, because when I was a surgical resident
Mhm.
and I reflect a lot because I transferred out and I feel guilty and I feel all
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
But when I reflect back, I think, there were circumstances such as forced sleeplessness and things that I do wish changed, because I was severely depressed. However,
Mhm.
I increased my suffering by
Mhm.
increasing the negative thoughts that I
Yeah.
had. So if things can't change, how can we at least change our mindset to
Yeah.
reduce the
Yeah.
suffering? If
Yeah.
things, I mean, obviously we can coach ourselves into staying in toxic work environments or
Mhm. Mhm.
situations that are not healthy.
Mhm.
But if we can at least reduce our suffering, or maybe even see things in a more positive light, I just think, man, I certainly made call more stressful. I certainly made charting way more stressful. I
Yes.
made
Yes. Yes.
it was like all
Yeah.
perfectionistic thought
Yeah.
thinking, and
Yeah.
like fear that I had to save everybody, like these unrealistic responsibilities. And I'm imagining this relates to the motherhood, especially when you're not sure. And I even, when we prescribe medications,
Yeah.
we're like can be very conservative and like hyper vigilant about the prescriptions. I talked to an OBGYN, and they're
Mhm.
like, they have it. They're like you're a pediatrician. You all
Mhm.
are around this, better, versus like if we don't know, we might be so nervous because it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm told we can't
Yeah.
do this and that. But
Mm.
well, thank you. I'm sure I could just keep
Yeah.
this story going all day long.
Same here.
Are there any last thoughts that you have that you'd like to share?
Yeah, and I think I would just say that for anyone listening, just embrace the fact that there's probably more to them than they realize, and not to be afraid to lean into it,
Mhm.
to be curious about what else is underneath that hood. What other amazing gifts you've been given that maybe the world isn't getting to experience because you haven't let it out, and allowed yourself to sort of develop and lean into and express.
So fantastic. And especially in a world where we compare, if you think
Mhm.
about like no one can be you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
no one can have the gifts
yes,
you have. No
that's
one
so true.
that is I love it. So thank you, Dr. Obidi. We will make sure to put all your information below so that people can reach out to you and they can enjoy all your energy and they
Oh,
can
thank you.
an avenue
Thank
of
you.
support. If you do sign up for another half marathon or tackle the marathon, you may or may not want to let me know. I may or may not show up. I may not be really a good accountability partner.
You'll be one of those I will reach out to let you know when that happens. 'Cause I'm sure I'm gonna run another one. There's no way. I think you once you run one, you probably want to run another one.
Yeah, unless you really hate running. Then,
Except you hear we hate it, yes. And in this
yes,
case I didn't, so I think I will. But thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
absolutely.
It was nice spending this time with you, and I really appreciate the time, the opportunity to share my
Likewise. Thank
story
you
with
so
you.
much for coming. I
Thank
appreciate you.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Take her back. Take care.
You too.
Bye.